like I want my kids to look at me like a superhero.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's so.
Now with today's world, the kids are so advanced.
I never.
Just shut up. You're gonna do what I called you. Like, now come on and do what I told you to do.
For real, yeah. I miss him a lot.
I think it's more like an ego thing with parents. You know what I'm saying? They don't want other parents to look at them like, oh, that's how they're being brought up, or that's how it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Parental Vision Podcast. I'm your host, Tiana, and today's segment is sponsored by Faye's Coffee. Feeling those late night parenting moments. Today, we have a special guest coming to us from Danbury, Connecticut, Najia Ayala. Welcome.
Thank you.
It was so wonderful, and I'm happy that you can make it.
Thank you so much. Yes, it was. I'm glad too.
Well, obviously, you're here because you are a parent.
Yes.
So tell me about your children.
I have 3. Yeah, I have twin boys, and I have a girl, 14 and 11. So I get that middle school, high school, that stage right now.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, I mean, I love being a mom, but it's challenging sometimes.
What are some of the challenges?
The age. The boys, they're very rough, but they think they could, parent my daughter. And then my daughter thinks she's Miss Mom to them because she's the oldest. And she's the only girl. So it's, but they kind of balance each other out, rough each other up a little bit. And but, yeah, I mean, I love being a mom.
Yeah. And how was your childhood growing up?
My childhood was rough. It was really, really rough. I grew up in the projects in Danbury, Mill Ridge, a little bit of all over the projects, per se. And then when I was 13, my grandparents passed away 2 weeks apart. So I turned 13 on August 13th. My grandmother passed away. And then on the 6th of September, my grandfather passed away, which was my middle sister's birthday. And my mom struggled with addiction. So they were kind of the glue. And everything crumbled within that year really, really fast. Yeah,
So were you living with your grandparents?
I was. So my mom always had a home for us, but my grandparents, we were there. She would come there. That's really, it was kind of like a back and forth thing because my grandparents had health issues too. So, it was because of school and, so when they passed away, it was there was no more bridge. You know what I'm saying? And that's what made it really crumble because my mom didn't know what to do. It was she just lost her mom, then she lost her dad, and she just ran even harder, So from there, we went to, me and my sister, we went into foster care because DCF was involved. So they told my mom that it's either she got clean right away or she went into a program. But if she had one slip up, we would be taken away permanently. And my grandparents were no longer there.
That bridge, yeah.
Right, exactly. So she chose to go away. So a home of 13 years, we had 2 days to pack, and then we had to say goodbye. And my mom went into rehab. Yeah. And she was pregnant for my youngest sister, too. Yeah, so it was hard. My middle sister, she was a little lost, but I always looked over her and, cared for her. I think the hardest thing was leaving kind of everything except for pictures in a duffel bag. And that was it, and my mom, she said, some time apart would be a lifetime together, but I really got to get my shit right. And, I knew, you know what I'm saying? But foster care was no joke. It was horrible. There's some that are good. There's some that aren't good. The grandfather tried sexual abuse and, my sister, one of the other kids pulled a knife on my sister. It was crazy. So we were in Waterbury.
But they kept you guys together.
For only a little while though. Yeah, so after that, the DCF worker didn't want to place us in a new home or anything, so we ran away. It was flight or fight at that point, you know what I'm saying? So we went to the Salvation Army shelter in Waterbury, the youth shelter.
And what was that like?
That was I was whoa. I grew up I'm in and out of the streets just because of the way my upbringing was. But always like knowing that my grandparents were there, they loved me, you know, like they were the glue into just like full blown like homelessness shelter. Like, and I never experienced that. And I was young, you know, so like I just buried my grandmother. I didn't get to say goodbye to my grandfather at all, you know, because of his first oldest daughter. She did no service. She went against his will. Like, it was hell. And my mom wasn't in a good place to, you know, like fight back or anything like that. So it was like I was dealing with that loss, had my little sister with me. My mom was in rehab, and, you know, it was a lot. And we had to like leave the shelter, come back at a time. You know, for someone that's like 13, turning 14,
That's a lot.
Yeah. So we did that, and then me and my sister both got separated. Like, once DCF caught up to us after like 4 months, it was like, you know, they were gonna place us. So then we started sleeping in parks in Waterbury. And yeah, like, I mean, it was like real, you know.
So essentially, you had to be a mom to your sister.
Yes. Yeah. And like, we're super close now too. Like that.
I can imagine.
Sister, but like, you know, I love her like on a different level because we went through a lot, you know. So after like, you know, really knowing what it was like to like go hungry, like we had hungry nights, you know, through my mom's addiction, you know, or I would not eat so my sister could eat, because like I was always like the bigger girl, you know, and she wasn't gonna starve, you know what I'm saying? But knowing what hunger was and sleeping in parks, like 2 girls at that age, like it was a lot, you know. My nanny, which was like my mom's best friend's mom, like they helped us a lot or whatever. And she was in Waterbury. She would let us come there, but DCF wouldn't let us stay there because they already had kids, you know, like foster kids already. They were like maxed out. And then my mom's best friend, Angel, she would help us when she could, and her husband. But it was like, it was tough. It was a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
My heart goes out to you, and I'm very sorry that you went through all that.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. What age? Because I believe you became a mom at how old?
I was 21.
Okay. So when you became a mom at 21, what was your initial thought to instill and ensure yourself that you weren't going to have your kids go through the same thing?
So I initially didn't know if I really wanted kids, you know, because I knew, like, I felt like I raised kids my entire life, you know, from like being with my grandparents, holding those morals, and then going through homelessness, hunger, the streets, you know, just like having my family ripped apart. And then like I wanted to live my life, you know. And then when I found out that I was a mom, I was like overwhelmed with joy. I was like so overwhelmed with joy because I didn't think I wanted to be a mom, but that feeling just hit different, you know. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember, you know, because my daughter is my oldest, like praying every single night that she would resemble my grandma or my grandpa. And that's like literally what I wanted the most, you know. Like I was like, God, like if you could at least answer this one prayer, like I'll never ask for anything again, you know. Like, so and I mean, really, when she was born, she looked just, and she still does to this day. You know, like truly like God's miracle.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And like after that, I was like, wow, like my own, you know, like I'm not raising them and getting rid of them, or they're moving on. Like they're mine.
Yes, they belong to me.
Yeah. And, you know, and I love being a mom. I do. And my twins, I was really nervous about being a twin mom. I heard so many horror stories, and I was like, what do you mean?
Right. What were some of the fears that you had when you found out you were pregnant with twins?
So it was like, how am I both going to, like, you know, carry the twins, carry my daughter, you know, go to work? How am I going to feed them both? Like, you know, like, how am I going to do schedule? Like, it was like so many things, like going through 2 of everything, you know?
If you don't mind me asking, the father, where was the father at the time?
So he was around. We were still like we were still together, but I got with him when I was young. I was in high school, and he was my outlet, and it was good for like a couple years, and then it turned really bad and like really quick. The DV got really bad, you know, and with my daughter, like the only time it wasn't physical is when I was pregnant, and that includes like my daughter and my twins. You know, it went from like trying to get his dogs to like attack me and bite me, him like hitting me. He was with someone behind my back, had another baby. Like it was bad, you know. He flipped. We were in the car. He had put a knife to my back, and he made me. And my daughter was in my arms. And I remember I gave my daughter to my sister, and I was like, no matter what happens, like please take care of her, you know. And I went in the car and we were on the highway, and he put a gun to my head, and we flipped over 8 times on Route 8 in Naugatuck. Yeah. And I will never, you know, like I got hurt, you know, and that was like, I was like, wow, like I was just like, I couldn't even believe that he can go to that extreme, you know, and that's when I knew like I really needed to get out. And I did, and he found me again. And it's like I fell right back into like that stupid cycle, you know, and I was independent. I had my own house. You know, he would come and go because he was obviously with someone else behind my back. I didn't know, having a whole nother family, kids, everything. But I was in college. I was working full time in finance, you know, so I was really trying to build my life for my children, you know, and that was my focus. And then it was like, you know, the old school of, you know, you have a kid, you need to stay kind of thing. And, you know, and I knew it was wrong, but I was like, I didn't want to break up my family either, you know. And then when I had the twins, they were 2 months old, and I left. Because he had tried to choke the boys with a bottle, and my daughter was sick, and I was just like, you know what?
Wait, I'm sorry. He tried to kill the children.
Yes, to hurt me. He even tried to kill my cat. That meant like the world to me. And my dog, like that really like helped me through a lot emotionally, and it like reminded me of the dog my grandfather had. Like he would hurt what was like near and dear to me. And it was a lot of abuse, like not just like physically, you know, mentally. And they always say like bumps and bruises will go away, but those words, like, you know, they cut deep, you know. And I told him that I was going to the store, and I called PD, and I was gone. I never looked back. I never did. Yeah.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry that you went through that. Thank God the kids are okay. Yeah. Were you ever honest with the children about what occurred, or?
So I will say, 5 years had went by. You know, I was in a new relationship. I was married. You know, so my life was established. My best friend actually helped me get out of the situation, and she helped me relocate to a whole nother town. And you know, that's who I ended up getting married to, and my best friend. I knew her my whole life. Like she was there through my pregnancy and everything. You know, so when 5 years had came about, we were trying to go through with adoption, and you know, all of the steps, and they have to do DCF involvement, and they said, oh well, he needs another chance. All the police reports, permanent protective orders, like everything, like it no longer mattered. You know.
What about the children's safety? They didn't think about that?
Well, that's what I said, and I hired a lawyer, thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, and the judge still made me let them see him. The boys didn't know who he was. Leah, she like had some memory because she was only 2, almost 3, but not like, you know, enough to really understand, you know. So it was a very brief time, you know, and the court made us let him see them. And it was torturous for the boys emotionally, and it became physically abusive to them. Wow. Police reports again, abuse, hospital visits, physical abuse from him, emotional abuse. It got really bad, you know, and it was like...
So they put the kids in harm's way.
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. And to the point where the police came, and I'm like, I'm not sending them anymore. you know. And I said, you can talk to my kids by themselves without me. You can ask them whatever you want. I give you permission. And they said to the officer, please don't make me go again. And he said, why? And they told him why. You know, from the poking around the hands, playing Russian roulette with knives. I mean, like, it was bad. Making them stand on squares. I mean, just, you know, really, really not good things. And, you know, through a lot of therapy with the boys and a lot of therapy with Leah. And, you know, they were able, I don't want to say that they forgot it because they never will, you know, but they've overcame a lot. And I give them, they're so little to have experienced something like that. And I give them a lot of credit, you know, and the way that my wife stepped up and really supported them, like when she really didn't have to, you know, what really, really means a lot, you know, and the kids, they've worked hard to get where they are, you know, and it's been some years now, you know, they were young, they were in elementary school when this happened, and now they haven't seen him, and I respect him for allowing me to raise the children and allowing me to give them a good life, and him knowing that they are okay. You know, I think it takes a bigger, better man to, you know, say, you know what, I know I've messed up. I know I've made mistakes. You know, whether he's better now, has his own family established, I wish him the very best. You know, he hates me to the core, and that's okay. You know, and I really don't care. You know, but what I do and what I am thankful to him and what I'm thankful to God for is that it's I have them. You know, and they're happy and they're healthy and they're striving. You know, so it was hell for them.
I am very happy that they have a triumphant ending and they have you as a mom. Like, you're super strong. And I wanted to touch a little more, one more question on that, and we can move forward. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned from being in a domestic violence relationship?
The very first time is when you need to leave and to really heed to the red flags. You know, because I grew up as a nurturer that it's okay, like I'll cover it, you know, because just because of the way I grew up. And I learned that within myself, like it's okay that I'm not your doormat. It's okay that I'm not your punching bag, and like I matter. You know, I'm just not your convenience. Like I matter as a human. I matter as a woman. You know, and I really learned a lot of boundaries, and it taught me a lot of lessons. Yeah.
So I want to touch a little bit more on, you have a teenage daughter.
I do.
What is it like raising a teenage girl?
Oh, girl. It's challenging.
I can imagine.
It is. I mean, she's a good girl. You know, I will say I'm very, very, very blessed. She's not ripping and running the streets. She's not like, you know, crazy with, oh, I'm going out here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You know.
So she doesn't party?
No, because I know what the streets are like. Listen, I'm mom, yes, but I'm not old, and I've been around the block. I've been there. I done that. And the streets don't have nobody. No, they don't. And you know, like sometimes she calls me like meanie mom, and that's okay. You know, and I tell her, if you loved everything I said and agreed with everything, I'm not doing my job as a mom.
Right.
You know, so I do set healthy boundaries with her, but I also want her to be able to live her life and, you know, make some mistakes so she can learn from them. Because if you don't allow for mistakes to happen, like how are they going to ever know? You know what I'm saying? So I really think that's important. It is challenging with the attitudes. It is, you know, you got the PMS, you got the hormones kicking, you got the rules and, you know, how you want to dress and I don't want to do a chore or I want to go out. But, you know, like with consistency and she is in therapy and, you know, it works. It's hectic than some days than not, but it works, you know.
How do you deal with dating? Is she dating?
So she has dated against my rules. And I will say,
How did you deal with that?
So I said that since you want to go against my rules and not follow my rules were 16, 15 if you're doing great in school, 16 if you're not, and then we'll talk about it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want a teen mom. I don't want her to be a teen mom. I don't want her to get hurt. There's STD. There's everything out there nowadays. In respect, and she learned her lesson. She did. The boy started off nice, and I read him like a book, and I'm like, huge red flags, Leah. And it was a couple months, and she learned her lesson, and I'm like, you know what, you're done, and I'm telling you, you're done, and that was it. It was a heartbreak lesson learned, but I really think it was a valuable lesson. Yeah, so now she's like, mom, like, I'm sorry, I didn't learn. No, that's okay. You be sorry to yourself. Like, it hurts me to see you upset, but you obviously had to learn the hard way, and she needed that, I think. I really do. Yeah, you think so? I think so.
Is she more like you?
She is to a degree. She always wants to be like that mom role, but she's very, I don't want to say she's a shy girl, but she's not like a fast 14, if that makes sense. Like in her head, and this is what we've worked through therapy with her, is in her head, her boyfriend, it was like, oh yeah, oh, I kissed the mom and that was it, and we're holding hands walking to class. Like they went out to the movies with his parents or whatever, and she did like a water park and stuff, but she learned really quick that that's not just what it was, and she was like, whoa, no. So that was, a lesson for her, and I'm glad, but she's more of like she'll help me cook when she wants to. She sees what like family means to me, the morals. My grandparents, I talk to her about them all the time. I have pictures up. So she really has like taken a lot from me, but has also created like her own personality. And I call her my old soul, because she's really like that old little viejo lady that wants to walk around with a big old house coat on and slippers, and but she has her own little personality, spunky, a little laid back, but she could rock.
Okay. And she's so she's 14. She has to be in ninth
grade.
high school.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. What were some of the fears that you had when she was initially starting high school?
Being introduced to sex, and I've always talked about sex, only because I really think it's educational and not in a bad way. To make you aware of your body, make you aware that no one is to touch your body, and everything that's important. And you can't sugarcoat it. Now this day and age is very different. They're very, very fast. So that was one of my biggest fears, her getting pressured into that. But, she learned, and I'm glad that I never got to that. And then like my friend's picking me up for school, or, oh my, we're going here after school, like teen driving, it makes me nervous. And I'm like, oh, well, is she going to start cutting class? And, so it was like those kind of fears. But I also think she's really found herself this year, and like, it's been so good so far.
So you don't fear, because she's found herself, so you don't have any fears about peer pressure too much?
I do. I worry about peer pressure with her. I talk openly about addiction. Okay. The fentanyl thing that's going around, it's really raw. I'm okay with the weed smoking, but not for her, the weed smoking. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a certain age. That's why there's a limit, so people use it for different things. And I talk about what addiction is. I talk about what fentanyl is. It's not a sweet tart. It's not just a Percocet or whatever it may be, because addiction runs in my family, and I think the more you're aware, the better outcome you'll have versus covering it up, because then they're going to be more curious. They're going to want to know, oh, let me try this. Let me see how I feel. Let me sip this. Let me see, so I do talk open about it, and I think it's important. So she is able to say like, nah, bro, I'm good. Like,
No thanks.
exactly.
That's so good though. So you guys have a beautiful relationship, it sounds like.
We do. We have really worked hard on our relationship. Like with her trauma with her father and everything, it really like put like a backset on her, and she thought it was like, her fault, and so we really had to really work hard. Really, really work hard on our relationship, and we're still work in progress. And I think we always will be. But I take time out just with her once a week. She really needs that, especially the age that she's at. She really needs like that time with me, and whether we go get coffee or we go shopping.
Go get our nails done.
Well, I do nails, so I do them for her, and she gets like that advantage, and I take her to get her hair done, and things like that. But last week we sat under the tree. We went to the local deli, right? We took a walk from the house to our little neighborhood deli, and we sat under the tree and had lunch, after school until the boys got out. And it was really nice. And, to reconnect with her and to keep that relationship going and that open communication, it's really, really, really been a blessing.
What are the differentials between how you raise your boys and how you raise your daughter?
Yeah. I love being a boy mom.
Hashtag boy mom.
Yeah, it's like a different kind of bond, I'm gonna say. Having a girl and two boys, the bond is so different. They're like I love my daughter, but they're like my loves. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I raise the boys. I want them to be strong, independent, respectable young men. I do not play when it comes to that. Like, they help me in the yard. They take out the garbage. They will bring in the wood for the fireplace. Like, I don't play.
You're raising kings.
Yes, because you need to in this world. And Leah, I'm a little more lenient with her. Like, she's my little queen. But my boys, I am harder on them. I am. But in a different way. They love me so much, and they just come to me. They just want to smush me. And, like, they'll still cuddle with me. And, like, it's just a different bond. And they respect me as mom, but they also, like, will talk to me about anything.
Really? And wait, how old are they again?
They're 11.
Oh boy.
Like, I mean, anything, these boys, and I'm like, really, boys, but I love it, and I'm so blessed that they feel they can come to me about anything, because I want them to. I still talk to them too about what addiction is, what drugs are, what alcohol is, peer pressure, girlfriends, boyfriends. Like, they know everything, because I don't think just because they're boys that they should be having sex at 13, 14.
That's right.
I just don't think it sets them up for success, and it just teaches them to not respect women, and I'm not okay with that. Like, one of my sons, he has like this little crush on a girl, and they have like class, and he's in theater. They have a big show coming up together and everything. And he's like, Mom, I want to ask her mom for permission if I could please bring her flowers and thank her for helping me on our project. And I'm like, Landon, that's really nice of you. And that just like makes my heart so warm, because it knows like they're taking at least something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
He's a little romantic.
Yes, but Leland, he's my hard one. They're very different. They look almost identical, but they're very, very different. Leland is my hard one. He is more of like the protector, like, don't you ever speak to my mother like that. Like, that's my brother. Like, we ain't going there kind of thing.
He's the man of the house.
Yes. And my daughter, his sister, forget about it. Like, he plays no games. You know what I'm saying? He's my firecracker.
Oh, God.
To put it in nicer ways. But he's so lovable, and he will give you the shirt off his back. Yeah. He has held doors open for older women, and he has helped them with their groceries all on his own. So good, and he will chef it up with me in the kitchen.
Your boys know how to cook? Oh my God.
They do, yes. I'm big on like the values. That's one thing that my grandparents instilled in me, and I hold near and dear because my grandparents were my world. They were my everything. They were my parents when I didn't have my mom, and then some, So I really try to keep that tradition. So cooking is near and dear to me, like the whole traditional holiday thing and, just the household. We got to run it together.
Absolutely. And everyone has to pull their weight.
Absolutely. Like you got to.
What are some of the mistakes you feel that you might have made as a parent that you wish you can correct?
My biggest like mistake and regret is, staying with their father for the time that I did. I wish I would have left sooner, and then I think if I would have left sooner, I would have my boys. And I really love my boys with all my heart, but I did leave when I knew how to get away, but I still hold that against myself kind of. And, that's something that I got to learn to process completely too, and just I want to be able to listen more to my daughter and try to understand more because she struggles, in some areas. And I just try to like listen and try to understand where she's coming from. And I think maybe if I would have like intervened early in a different way, maybe it could have been a little bit different. Maybe she would be a little bit further than, like where she is now. Not that she's in a bad place, but maybe it could have just been a little different, And with my boys, I really, really think that my only regret is not getting them like the full on services that they needed at a young age. And that's only because I didn't know, because they couldn't hear until they were like 1.5, so like they had 5 years surgery. They went through a lot. So I think if I would have not been so focused on my career and left everything dumped on my wife, I don't want to per se dumped, but like I was off in New York working. I was in finance. Like I felt like all of my dreams I finally made happen. And she was, she worked local and I was doing that big commute.
So because you were so career driven, you were put between a rock and a hard place, choosing spending time with your kids or being that career woman. How did that make you feel?
In the beginning, I thought it was normal. Like I thought because I put myself initially after I graduated school, I went into becoming an EMT. And then when I got hurt, like I had to change careers. But I still worked it, but I down it to like part-time, But when I finished college, that was like something big for me, and I felt like it was like that's what I was supposed to do to take care of my kids. So with my wife being local and me, just going so hard on my career, I thought that was the right thing to do. And she would tell me all the time, like, oh, listen, like, you need to slow down, you need to slow down, like, we miss you at home. And, I would travel, like, to North Carolina to where our headquarters was, to UK. Like, I was all over the place, like, and I did it for many years, but I missed, like, a lot. Like, I was there for their first steps, but I was, like, I missed a lot of, like, the words, like, the funny little silly things. And same with my daughter. Like she was only, she was 3, and like we put her into like a semi-private school. Then we put her into private school too, because as she got older and I was still in my career, and then I was so like career like oriented. Like that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be able to provide, and I went in a blizzard and I got hurt. And that like really is what slowed down like my finance career. And if I would have listened to her, like she was like, can you just stay home today and work from home? And I was like, nope, like I need to go to the office. And that was too more of like a mental outlet for me as well. Like I was going through a lot mentally and emotionally, like finding myself going, like battling with the DV thing, still trying to like maintain, like, I don't want to say just my image, but the person I am. I worked really hard for my reputation, because my family's last name was not the greatest, from my mom with addiction. My sister struggled through addiction. Me watching my sister and my mom get high and, like just everything. It was like I constantly kept having to overcome. So I just wanted to go and just be like, here's the money. Like, and I thought it was right. And I regret it.
You were trying to be the family provider.
Yes.
So how do you keep your kids away from addiction and the drug world? How do you stop them from going down that path?
So I really think because I've talked so open with them, and my mom has talked open with them, and I commend my mom a lot because like it wasn't easy. And my sister too, my middle sister, like she struggled a lot, like, and I tell them, I've told them, listen, there's days that I didn't know when I was going to eat, and that goes back to mama's addiction. There's times where we were sleeping in parks and in the shelter after grandma and grandpa passed away because mama's addiction, and it brings you to people, places, and things that you never thought would ever happen, and same thing with my sister, it brought her down a very destructive path. And, and it costed us like our entire family. And I think keeping it so like on the forefront with them, and I've driven them through the hood where I grew up. I've driven them and showed them the parks that I would sleep at on a bench, in Waterbury. I showed them the old Salvation Army shelter on Willow, because I think it's important. It's a part of my story, but it also gives like an insight on addiction and what it could do to you. And I always tell them, if you guys are ever curious, and you guys aren't sure, ask me. And if you don't feel comfortable asking me, go to mama, go to their other mom. Like, there's people they can go to, and the biggest, I think, battle is weed, and not that I'm against it because I'm not, I am against it for kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, fine, you want to smoke your weed, you're an adult. Absolutely, do your thing. I don't pass judgment. You know what I'm saying? But for kids, and I think that's where a lot of the peer pressure comes in. But I also think talking so open about it, it makes them not have that curiosity. Right. Same thing with sex. If you don't talk about these things, they're going to be curious. And that's when I think, kids, adolescents, teens, they go on like that curiosity, which ends up with a destructive path.
Curiosity kills the cat.
Yes, literally, because then they're like, oh, that's a pill, it's going to help me sleep. Oh, I'll take it. Oh, that's a pill, it's going to help me get through the day or make me forget feelings. Oh, I'll take it. Oh, I could smoke weed. That's going to help me eat and make me laugh. All right, let me hit that blunt. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the more I talk about it to them and the more open I am, the less it kills that curiosity. Yeah.
Okay. Well said. I love the way you put that. Absolutely. So I do have one more question for you, though. What are some of the morals you instill in your children?
I'm big on morals. We sit down to eat every night. I don't care if they're like, Ma, I just want a bowl of cereal or whatever. We're sitting down at the table. And to me, that's like, my grandparents were big on that. And no matter how sick my grandma was, like, because I started cooking when I was like 7 years old. And like, I was like 9 cooking a holiday dinner with my grandma and my grandpa. Yeah, because they were really sick. So like, I had to do all of that stuff, the grocery shopping, the, cooking with them. So to me, I think a reconnection, like with your family, at the end of the night, yeah, you had a long day at school, you've had homework, sports, everything, because the kids are really involved. but I want to hear those moments. I want to distress with you guys. And, so sitting down together is important. Consistency, is important. And the traditions, like those morals are like, they're like, you can't wiggle room with me with those, so that's deep for me.
Love that. I do. I love that. What are some of the things that you want people to take away from your story that they can resonate with?
No matter where you came from, no matter where you started, it's not the end. That doesn't, dignify who you are. It's not like that's your one all be all, because whether it was addiction, it was homelessness, it was a teen mom, it was like having nothing. It doesn't define you as a person. What defines you is your strength, and your will. Because if, like, I use my mom and my sister's addiction to know that I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to put my kids through that. I didn't want that to be my story in my life. Same thing like with being homeless. I knew that, I can make it out, so if you're stuck, feel your feelings. It's cool. But don't let that be who you are, knowing that you want something more. And it's not going to be easy. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to put in a lot of walk to get to that top. But if you let your past define you, it's only going to ruin you. Like, you have to want to change your story. You have to, because if not, then, and it's okay to have a past. Like, I'm proud of my past because it's made me who I am, and it's given me a lot of strength, and it's helped a lot of people. So I would love to see like more fathers, more mothers, not feel like they have to be stuck, to know like they're not by themselves, like it's okay if you are homeless and you're in that family shelter, get out of it. You're struggling financially, you got to do a little bit more, but you don't have to stay like that, and I think that's where so many parents struggle, and then they end up right down the tunnel because they feel like they're alone or they don't have an out. And you always do.
What do you think is the hardest thing about being a parent?
The hardest thing about being a parent, holding the consequences and boundaries. It's hard. And I try to like be lenient with my kids because I don't want them to not make mistakes, but I also need them to respect me as their mother, and I suck at consequences.
I do too. Me too.
I really do. I'm like, oh, that's it. You're punished for 2 days or, like whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, the next day, I'm like, all right, guys, like, come on. Like, why? What was all this about? And, the whole 9 talk. And, and, but I think it still allows them to make those mistakes. But I really worked on like trying to be, stricter with that because they need to know, like, they know when I'm serious. You know what I'm saying? And they know like your stuff's not done. Like, you're going to have, consequence because school is everything. Like you need school, you need to have a career, like, but I am very, like, that's one of my weaknesses, and, they're just work in progress.
One day at a time.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness, Nadia, I really, really did enjoy this interview. I really did. Like, you touched me in such a way. My eyes were getting all misty. And I was like, Tiana, just don't cry, girl. But your story it is very sad as it starts off, but the ending is so triumphant.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. You should really be proud of yourself. And I know your kids are proud of you. Like, you are an amazing person for them to look up to. Who better than you?
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I think I'm just like a regular person trying to, work and raise kids and be a good mom.
Listen, we're moms, so we're automatically superheroes, right? Yeah. But before we wrap, I do have one more question. Yeah. 5 things, in your opinion, that you think make up a good parent.
5 things. So communication, that's big. Um, Hearing your kids, not just seeing them, because they have a voice too, and their feelings and opinions matter. Being consistent, because every child needs structure, no matter if they admit it or not. Leading by example, and lots of love. Lots of it. You got to give it, because if you don't give it, they're going to find it somewhere else, and you don't want that to happen.
I agree 100% on all those key points. I definitely agree. And stability.
You got to be stable, because you bounce around. That's like, it leads to disaster. So.
Well said. This was so awesome. Well, thank you so much again for taking time out to sit with me on Parental Vision platform.
Thank you so much for having me.
Everyone, that's a wrap for Parental Vision podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Tiana, and this segment was sponsored by Faye's Coffee. Until next time, bye.